Um, Cover letter, you have cover letter due on Monday. These are the 3 elements that should be in it. This is all on campus. Basically a cover letter, as I told you all when I first introduced the assignment, you'll write cover letters for jobs, grant applications. You'll write a lot of them in your future lives. So this should be written like a letter. It should be addressed to me because I'm the one reading it. You should be stating, I plan to research this question. My goals for the project are this, and why you're interested. Basically making that first impression, saying why you're a fit for this project. So use your best skills writing, double check your grammar, punctuation, because these are all things that would be important on a cover letter in the future. I will save this cover letter and be referring to it when I'm grading your final project. So I really do want you to think about what your goal is for the project, what you want to achieve, because I'm going to kind of take that when I'm looking at your project. I'll be grading you on a lot of things, but one element of that is how successful you were in meeting the goals that you set yourself. Any questions about that? It's just one aspect of the assignment coming up on Monday. Awesome. In 1 page minimum, double spaced is fine, single spaced is fine. Mostly I just care that you get all this information in there. Don't go like a page and a half is okay, but I do want you all to practice writing an actual cover letter because it's a good life skill, and that you wouldn't want longer than a page. You want to really make yourself look like the candidate they would want for the job in 1 page or less, because people don't have a long attention span. This is the boring part. So we're gonna talk about MLA citations. So you guys have to do 3 MLA citations for your research plan coming up on Monday. Then you have your annotated bibliography coming up when we come back to class after our break for conferences. That'll be 5 MLA citations. You can use the 3 from your research plan into that. And then you can use those for your final project. You don't have to reinvent the wheel on any of this. So did you all learn MLA citations before? Okay. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So I made a bibliography using MLA citations as an example. Is there anything that you all notice about how I did this? What about, does anyone know what this is called? Is that how you would normally end a paragraph? No. So this is called a hanging indent. So for your bibliography, every source should be a hanging indent. Basically, this is the furthest of the page. You go to the next line, tab over. If there's multiple lines under, you're gonna tab both of them over. So rather than a typical indent where you tab over the first line and the rest is further left to the page, this is the opposite. You want your first line furthest left to the page, tab the lines next. How do you think I determined the order of these 3? Do you think it's random? Do you think there's you know anything? Yeah, one of you. Alphabetically, yeah, good. And you'll notice, like, I didn't put Beyonce's last name up there, but I put Jamaica and Claire's last name up there. So this is last name first. The reason Beyonce's last name isn't up there, do you all have any guess? Yeah.
Is it because her artist name is just her first name?
Yeah, so you're gonna go off of whatever is on the piece of text. So if I'm citing this book, his name's Guy Davenport, so I'm gonna go Davenport Guy. If I'm citing the album Lemonade, it doesn't say Lemonade Beyonce Knowles, it says Lemonade Beyonce. So same thing, if they had a middle initial, you would put that in. You just wanna go off of what is on the text you're citing. So this, I got this you can find on Purdue Owl is a really good website, but this list is everything that should be in your citation in the order it should be in, and the punctuation after each one is what would follow the item in a citation. So you might not have all of these things for each of your citations. You want to treat this like a checklist. So you go through your source. Is there an author? Is there, you might not, we'll get into these one by one, but you might not have these. You might just have an author, a title, a publisher, a publication date, and that's fine. You just kind of treat it like a checklist. Also, I know that there's EasyBib and Purdue Owl has a citation maker. If you're getting your sources from InfoCat, you can just copy a citation and mark it MLA. That's fine. I'm not trying to make you guys work harder than you need to, but you should use this to check your citations, and you should look for consistency. We'll have a little working time in this class today, and one of my students had shown me he was using EasyBib, and it would do the dates different for each one, and he was like, should I write the date this way, October 26, 2022 or 26 October 2022? And I said, it doesn't matter how you write the date, but you want them all to be the same. So watch out for stuff like that with EasyBib and those generators where you'll kind of notice differences. I'll go over everything that I expect from you. Things like dates, there's no prescribed way to write them, but you do want to be consistent through each citation. Does that make sense? Awesome. Stop me if you have any questions along the way. Author, we talked about, so last name, rest of name as appears in text. If there is no last name, just their regular, just whatever name is on. You just want to follow what's on the piece of text that you're citing. And then put a period. Title of source. Books are in italics. Basically everything else is in quotes for the title. A periodical is like a newspaper or a magazine, something that is distributed periodically, comes out every week, every month, etc. Title of container. So let's go back to this. So Girl by Jamaica Kincaid is the short story. I don't know if any of you all have read it. It's really good. So notice Girl is a short story. It's not a book, so the title is in quotes. The container, so that's the source. Jamaica Kincaid wrote Girl. The Vintage Book of Contemporary American Short Stories, that's the container that this story is found in. It's published in other places as well, but the copy I have of it, I have this book. So that's where I found this source. So you'll notice, short story in quotes, the book is in italics. The container is pretty much always gonna be in italics. So for Beyonce's, for example, the name of the song is Pray You Catch Me. That's in quotes. The container is the album, Lemonade. That's in italics, even though it's not a book. So, source, container. So this is an example of an anthology. So you would cite the story, and then the container would be the Norton Anthology of American Literature. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. Other contributors. So let's go back to this citation I did. Jamaica Kincaid is the author. The editor, so after I put in the container, this is edited by Tobias Wolff. You might see translated by, edited by, approved by, etc. on your sources. If you see something like that, make note of it Don't just put their name, put edited by, translated by, however they contributed to that source. Version, so like this one, this is the 10th edition. There's multiple versions of the Bible. This is the King James Version. If you see something like edition, version, etc., include that in your citation, followed by a comma. Everybody still good? Cool. Number, a journal, a newspaper, a magazine, that's where you're going to get this. So you would have volume 6, number 1 listed in your citation, followed by a comma. If you have an edition and a volume and a number, you're including all of this. As many of those 9 core items are in your source, you're going to include them in your citation. You want as much information as possible. Publisher, so let's go back and look. This is the publisher. Vintage. This is the publisher. Lemonade, Parkwood Entertainment. This one doesn't have a publisher. So this is the container, right? This is the name of the article. This is the container. Here we have the volume, the number. We have the publishing year. That's because of this. Do not include the following sources: periodicals, works published by their author, editor, websites whose titles are the same, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, if you found something on YouTube, like, that's the location, not the publisher. The New York Times is published by the New York Times. They don't have a publisher. You don't need to put that in twice. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. Publication date. So after your publisher, you have the date. Skip over publisher if you don't have one, or the publisher has the same name as the container, followed by a comma. So if the source has more than one date, like if I'm reading a version of Girl that was published in 2000, like that's the one I'm looking at, I would just put 2000. If you're unsure about what to do, go with the original publication date. So if you look at it like 3 different times and there's 3 different dates, like go with the original publication. Is always a good bet. It's important to do a different publication date. Like if something has been changed since the original publication and you're looking at the changed version, it's important to use the date of the one you're looking at, the one that's been modified. For those that it's the same story and it's just been published again in a more recent year, it's not that important. A lot of this is just kind of thinking of a citation like it is meant, it's kind of like its own language. It's meant to communicate something to the person who's looking at your bibliography. So when in doubt, just think about what you need to communicate about this source, what's important. Location. So here, where we skip the publisher, this one didn't have the publisher, but here's where we get the location. So if it's book or a piece of text, you want to show the pages you're citing, that's the location. If it's something you're looking at online, you want to put the link. So that one was accessed on Beyonce's website. So page numbers for a book, link for an article, something online. If you go to a museum or something like that, you would put the name of the museum. So this is a really bad picture of the UK Art Museum. If I was talking about this painting, what would be first on my citation? What?
The artist?
Yeah, good. And then,
Source.
yeah, so the title of the painting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Publisher.
then, no, then the, okay, then, for, the museum?
Yeah, so that one's kind of hard because if it's a painting, you have your artist, your title of the source. It could be a title of the container, like if it's part of a show, you could put that in there, the name of a specific show. If there's more than one, if you could put the curator in there, curated by, if that information is available to you. Like, if it's there, you don't have to go and search all of this stuff up. But if you're at the museum and you see curated by, selected by, include it. Version number, publisher, you're probably not gonna have. Publication date is probably on the little card by the painting. And then location, yeah, you put UK Art Museum. So for physical space, identify the place. Good. All right. Any questions on citations so far? Good work. All right. Optional elements. So you can put the date of original publication if you think it's important. City of publication. When I was in college, you were supposed to put the city of publication, but I guess they changed that from the 7th edition to the 8th edition of MLA handbook. So that's been changed pretty recently, where you just put the name of the publisher, but if it's published before the year 1900, you put the city, and they just decided that before 1900, depending on where information was coming from, it was important to the information, and now they think the whole country is neutral, I guess. I don't know why they chose that year, but if you're publishing something, if you're citing something before 1900, you'll put the city that it was published. Date of access. So for something, you don't have to do that for like a book or a journal article, like something physical that's not going to be changed. But for a website, something that can be changed, you want to put the date access. So here, like I said before, I don't care if you do May 27th or 27 May 2009. Just make sure it's the same through all of your sources. URLs and DOIs. So a DOI is, you'll see it on a journal. It'll just be when you're getting all this other information, or if you copy and paste from InfoCat, you might see the DOI on there. That's what it looks like this. And journals just do that so that instead of using a link that can change, and like if they move the article somewhere else, this number sticks with it, so that if someone's looking at your bibliography, they can go and find the exact article you were reading, even if the website changes. So, yeah, you might see some of those. Have you all found any? You had to turn in, so today you're supposed to write about a secondary source that you found. That's due by midnight. I know some people are working on that. I only have a handful turned in. But are you all do you all feel confident to find these secondary sources? No? Okay. Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about that. 10:22. So I'm gonna give you all time to work on this today, so you can ask me questions individually. But I know I've shown you InfoCat a lot of times, but I really do recommend it. So I was thinking a research question could be, how did the pandemic affect student mental health? If I'm writing about students, this is my community and this is what I'm interested in. Peer-reviewed journals, so we talked one day about oversight, multiple people viewing. Good secondary sources means more people view the information before it gets published, so peer review are some of the best. So these are really good sources. These are all gonna be good. And here, if you use InfoCat, how do you do it? If you click on it here, citation, MLA, you can just do that. And double check it against the list I gave you. But, yeah. So I recommend InfoCat highly to get secondary sources. It's always what I use. Some other good methods, like if you find one that you really like, is there a table of contents? References. So you can go to their bibliography and look around where they're getting their sources, and that's a good way to get information. Because all of these are going to be legitimate sources too, and they're all going to be related to this topic. Even Wikipedia is not a source you can cite, but if you, as a secondary source, because again, I can write something on Wikipedia and post it right now. I can say whatever I want and post it to Wikipedia. People will review it, but it's all volunteer run, and it's not, they don't have to review it before I post it. But down here, again, tons and tons of secondary sources you can look at. Remember things we talked about. .com, maybe it's okay. It's gonna depend. But going with like a .org or a .gov or a .edu, a journal article, a book, those are gonna be more likely to be good sources. But these other things, you just have to kind of, like this was a .com, and yeah, it's okay, but it's still really just someone's opinion, you know. So I would say, if you're getting new and you're not feeling super comfortable with what's a good secondary source, I would just stick with the .gov, .edu, .org, cdc.org, etc. Just because you know that's guaranteed, and you don't have to kind of develop. It's hard for me to teach, oh, this .com is good and this isn't, because like I just have a lot of practice with spotting things out, and I've gone to school for like a million years, so. Does this help at all to give you some ideas what to look? Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys like 13 minutes. We'll stop at 10:40 and go over the homework, and then you guys can still leave like a little early. But wherever you are right now, if you haven't done this homework yet, maybe do that. Look for a secondary source, read it a little bit, work on your 250 word response. If you've already done this, you need 3 MLA citations with a couple sentences about how you're going to use them for your homework Monday. So spend some time working on that, and I'm here if you have questions. I'm going to go back to this slide so you guys can check against that. I'm going to turn on a little music because I feel very awkward in silence, so I'm sorry.
Which assignment do you need the MLA citations for?
So you'll need that for your research plan that's due Monday.
Okay.
So the one due today, you don't need to do an MLA citation, you just need to write, about how you're gonna use it. But, yeah, just keep in mind, like, if you find the source and access it and you can copy it from the site, you might as well go ahead and do it, cause all of these, the one you write about today, you can use for your 3 due Monday. Your 3 due Monday, you can use for your 5 due the 14th. You can, it's meant for you all to just be working on this continuously.
And we need 5 for the final paper.
I think it'll be like minimum 6, so I'll probably have you add one more in. 6 to 10ish should be good. More is better too. Your all's projects are so different. But yeah, raise your hand. I'm gonna be like doing homework, but raise your hand. I'll be watching for you all, so call out or raise your hand if you need help or you want me to look at something, and yeah, feel free to put your own headphones in, do your own thing. I'll set a timer on here.